Okay, we call this meeting to order.
Getting I can't breathe, so I can't say anything.
Secretary, you ready?
We don't have a secretary. We're missing Mary Ann, aren't we? Kim might be done. Mary. Kim will be here, I would imagine, but Mary may not. Oh. You need a pen?
Need a microphone. Is that one work?
No, I got a big mouth.
Can you reach across?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Here. Just for you.
Okay. Mr. Teray?
Here.
Mr. Heisel?
Here.
Mr. Brown? Dr. Hall?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We will now start with our good news portion of our board meeting. And tonight we are featuring Coretta Scott King Magnet School. So we welcome this evening our principal, Rachel Newcomb.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Every trimester, CSK participates in a social action project. These projects are coordinated by a rotating team of teachers, and they're designed so that every member of our student body actively participates in whatever the project is. We were particularly pleased with our second trimester action project, and that's why I'm here tonight to share the good news of that project with you. During the second trimester, we focused on what I think is an exceptionally worthy cause, which was Operation Care Package. We started with a family collection of toiletries, playing cards, and socks for our troops. We had a goal of 700 items, and we managed to collect 1,051. So we were thrilled with that turnout. We also did an additional staff fundraiser and raised $188 to buy snacks and non-perishable items to include in our care packages as well. During the first week of February, every student in our school worked with a buddy from a different grade level. So we had some nice older and younger pairings. They got to design a box that's used. You can see some of them behind you. I apologize. They got to design a box for Operation Care Package, and they also got to write a card or a letter to some of our troops. So everyone was a part of the collection, and they were also part of that creative process, working together to decorate and then write letters for our troops. We were really proud as a staff and as a learning community of the letters and the designs on the boxes and all of the generous contributions that our project produced. And I personally am extremely grateful to the teachers who coordinated this particular project because it was fairly labor intensive for them. But before I conclude my presentation tonight, as it is a brief one, I'd like to recognize our IB coordinator, Mrs. Shannon Bruns, who's here tonight. Yes, you have to stand up. Come on now. Shannon is the only person who works on every single action project. She coordinates each one every trimester from start to finish, wrangling staff members and students and handling all of our publicity, writing news for our newsletters. It's really quite a lot of work. So I just wanted to say thank you to her right here in front of everyone and recognize her for all of her efforts. And in the spirit of Operation Care Package, I have a little care package to present to her as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, you have to come get it. You have to come get it. Oh, of course. And it's green. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for letting me share our good news with you.
Yes. I'm sure we can do that in a place.
Thank you, Ms. Newcomb, for that awesome presentation. I would like to give our board members an opportunity to respond as well as our superintendent. Mr. Heifel.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you did for those guys. Wish somebody had done it for us. They used to send us foot powder and cigarettes, so, you know, you might be able to walk, but you're going to. But, no, I think it's great, and I think it's really wonderful that the kids bought into it and did a good job. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Keep it up.
Rachel, you run an excellent program over there for our kids. It's an excellent program, the IB program, and as you may know, we are looking to expand that even further in the upper grades. And it's always that one that's behind the scene. It seems like they put that extra effort. Can you hear me? They put that extra effort. So thank you, Mrs. Bronze, or Miss Bronze, to be appropriate. Good job. Keep it going. Keep our kids smiling. And that's what it's all about. Cause it went from high to low that time, didn't it? Still blasted it. Blasted. Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Sanders just sat down. I don't know if she got a chance to see exactly what the presentation was.
She's always with me.
Again, and I apologize for my tardy. Hello, testing. The bottom line is the idea that it is good news concerning any Operation Care Package and anything that we do to help our community, our kids. Hats off to you, as usual, for a great job in demonstrating, not just saying. I was just driving earlier and saw someone with a flat tire on this Bishop Ford that I just exited. And interestingly enough, we're in a society where people are kind of frightened about stopping and helping or lending a helping hand. So it's still a world where we can exchange niceties, exchange friendly gestures, and this is another example of how you guys are demonstrating that to our children. So thank you again for your work.
Thank you so much. When you give care packages to those in service, they just appreciate it so much. And it's important that they know that you appreciate all that they give up to protect our nation. And as a veteran, I just appreciate what you guys have done. Thank you.
I would like to say one other thing. I was rather glib at the beginning. These guys are out there getting shot at. You know, they don't know if they're going to be around the next day. And they get something like that from home. It means more than you will ever know. Thank you.
Mrs. Newcomb and Mrs. Bruns, thank you both. As a parent of CSK, I know a lot of what goes on in that building. And as a parent that's been there since its inception, since the beginning, I know that even with Aaron DiBartolo, there was a lot of events going on where students did outreach, and what I love about the building is it's teaching the children that you have to give back what you can give back. And I know there's constant opportunities for them to do that, so I thank you even as a parent for sharing that with children. You know, we may as parents teach it at home, but to also get it at school is a wonderful thing. Also, I thank you all as well. My husband is a veteran. We have 3 veterans, I believe, sitting on this stage. And they live that life, and they know firsthand the challenges of living that life. And so to be able to get care packages that bring a smile to their faces is an awesome thing. So we thank you all.
Testing.
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 Yeah, I'm good.
Testing.
Test.
I don't like testing.
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 That concludes our good news portion of our board meeting. At this time, we are opening the floor for public comment. Direct your attention to the guidelines on our screen behind us. At this time, I'd like to call to the microphone Tammy Burnham, the reputation of the school district.
Testing. Okay. On February 19th, I attended a workshop for the Crete Comprehensive Plan. The plan paves the way for the future of Crete for the next 20 years in regards to development of our village, transportation, neighborhoods, parks, open spaces, housing, etc. Residents were encouraged to come as public input was critical. About 45 of us attended and voiced our opinions on what we thought were the most important ways to improve Crete. The general consensus of the group was that our school district was the #1 reason people aren't coming to Crete any longer. New construction stopped overnight, young families won't move into Crete, and realtors are advising against it because of the school district's performances. The 201U reputation is dismal. A family buying a home in Crete, buying a home can move one village to the south or one village to the east of us and have schools where the students are meeting state requirements and less discipline issues. My question to the board is, what are your plans on improving this district? And what will you do to repair our reputation in the south suburbs to one of pride and envy again? Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call Ms. Susan Duran. Balmoral teachers doing the polar plunge for Special Olympics.
First of all, I just want to apologize for looking a little crummy today. We had our St. Patrick's Day, and if we wore green, we got to wear jeans. So we all wore green so we could wear jeans. Anyway, I'm here with some good news. On March 7th in Manteno, 5 employees from Balmoral, where I teach, and 1 from the 6th grade center took part in the Illinois Special Olympics polar plunge. Now, I have to say we were lucky. It was a fairly warm day, but when we hit the water, it did take our breath away. So I just wanted to come and recognize the people that took part. Michelle Calderoni from the 6th grade center, Karen Pickens, who's a cook in our building, Lane Pankey, who is special education, Janice Van Kijken, our assistant principal, Chantel Perkins, our principal, and myself, and I teach reading. We took part in this. It was very exciting that our principals took part. It was very exciting that we had our head cook take part. We also had one of our employees' daughters took part with us. We raised over $1,500 for Special Olympics. I'm proud to say that that money will stay local. So our Special Olympians here in our district will get the benefit of some of that money, and it will go also, to some of the surrounding areas. But I think I did say the Monee event is the 3rd largest. So we had a great time, a lot of excitement. I have to say, when we hit the water, it did take our breath away. But it was so much fun that we have a lot more people, staff next year, saying they want to be a part of it because they saw our excitement and our pictures and our little video that we took of ourselves. So anyway, I just want to say that's something really good that's going on in this district to help the Special Olympians in our district, that administrators did, teachers did, and other staff members did. So I just wanted to come share that good news. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue.
That's awesome. Next, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Doris Warren, Harmon Warren. Budget question/comment.
I attended the budget hearings in the fall, and in the fall we were looking at a $5.7 million deficit. Throughout the fall I heard a lot of discussions about what our budget was going to be. A lot of those discussions included information about the state tax. It has been reduced back. Doesn't look like it's going to be changing anytime soon. We know the funding was really related to that, and at the time last fall I had heard numbers of a potential $10 million deficit without that funding. I don't see any discussion about solving that issue, and I'm concerned that that we're thinking of still building in University Park with the $20 million we have when we're looking at deficits that we don't have a way to control. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome Ms. Deneen Offord. Resignation of the band director of Crete Monee Middle School.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Deneen Offord, and my family has been a part of the district for 10 years now. My son is a Crete Monee High School graduate, 2012, and my daughter is currently at the middle school in 8th grade, and she is in the band under the leadership of Mr. Sam Hankins. I was saddened to hear that he would not be returning next year. One of the reasons we moved to this district was because of the excellent band program. And I believe that, and a few years ago we had to fight to keep the band program in the district, first of all. And I believe that we should fight to keep those teachers, those individuals that help move the program forward, that are good for the district. They make the district look good, and they're good for the children. Mr. Hankins has taken the middle school band to a whole nother level. I mean, he's great with them. The kids really love and admire him. And I just ask that perhaps the board consider or even reconsider the reasons behind his resignation, because it would be a great loss to the district, to the band program in particular, to lose him. He's a great asset, and I hope the board can do something about that, because it would be a great loss. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, Mr. Todd Hall, regarding the wrestling program.
Good evening, and I thank you all for this opportunity to speak in regards to the wrestling program. First of all, I'd like to say that I don't think many people know that the wrestling team finished the year ranked 17th in the state. They had 2 wrestlers who placed in the top 6 in the state. One of the things that are concerning to me is the fact that they are practicing on a competition mat, which in turn can be dangerous and costly when it comes to the wear and tear of the mat. And the other mat that they use, they practice on, and they also use it for competition, and it's an older mat. At this point, they probably need 3 mats, but I'm just asking that you all consider at least providing 2 mats for the wrestling team. These kids, this is a safety concern. This is also a concern when it comes to they can use these mats to make money, because then they can host regionals or sectionals, which we're not afforded the opportunity because we just don't have enough mats. We have the space, but not the mats to host events such as regionals and sectionals so that they can make money. I know I've been to several wrestling events, and I've heard other wrestlers from other schools talk about how beautiful this school is. We were at a Prospect, and the kids and the coaches received rave reviews as to how they handled themselves and how well they wrestled. They worked really hard, and I just would hope that you all would consider finding some type of funds to provide these young men with the equipment they need, i.e. wrestling mats, for this upcoming season. Thank you all.
Thank you. This concludes
Clarifying question. Clarifying, I want to ask a question. The mats that you speak of, are they being used for multi-purposes aside from just the wrestlers?
They're being used for wrestling, but when you practice on the mat, on competition mats, and use them for competition and a constant moving of the mats, that creates wear and tear, and it starts to destroy the mats a lot faster. So what's going to happen is we're going to need mats. Right now they're practicing on a mat, wrestling on a mat, one mat that's probably over 10 years old and it's really worn out. And then one of the competition mats which is new, fairly new, it's one of the newer mats, it's starting to become worn as well. And as these mats wear, it becomes dangerous, and it just looks bad for the program as well. And these boys work hard, and they deserve the opportunity to practice on good equipment, work on good equipment, whether it's practice or wrestling matches.
Okay, and I'm sorry, forgive my lack of knowledge concerning mats, specifically as they relate to wrestling. But so my question was, are the mats, or can the mats, any new mats that may be purchased, can they be used as multi-purpose? In other words, can another group or athletic team use those mats? So if there is an investment in it, can they be used for a variety of other teams?
They shouldn't be. For example, if cheerleading they have separate mats for cheerleading and tumbling, and wrestling has separate because just for the.
Thank you. Next, we have our board updates. I would like to say many of you have probably heard, I'm pretty sure you've heard multiple times information regarding the Illinois 5 Essentials survey that we are asking our staff and students and parents to complete. There are certain thresholds that need to be reached in order for the state to even publish the results of the survey. The survey is asking feedback on schools, school conditions, a full gamut of perceptions of parents and teachers and students in regards to our individual schools. At this time, in order for the school to be reported on the school report card, we need at least 50% overall participation, and we have reached that for each school. However, each stakeholder group has a participation threshold that must be reached, and the one that we're most concerned with is our parent percentage. We need at least 20% of parents to participate in this survey in order for the results for parents to be published. I believe we have, is it one school that's reached 20%? And I believe, actually we have a couple of schools. Okay, so we have Talala Elementary, Balmoral Elementary, Crete Elementary, Coretta Scott King Magnet School, and Monee Education Center that have reached or surpassed the 20% threshold. Our goal is to get all of our schools to surpass the threshold. We do value the input of our parents, and this is a way that we will be gauging. A question was posed earlier, what are our plans for improving the district? This type of feedback helps us in creating those plans, so it's very important that our parents do participate in this survey. There is a link to the survey on the front page of our website. I believe it's right when you go on the front page. It's on the left-hand side, I believe, Natalie. Very easy access. I believe it takes about 15 minutes to complete the survey. So this is a plea on the behalf of the Board of Education to our parents to please complete this. I know that we all live busy lives, and I know that you're probably tired of the robocalls coming home and asking you to participate. And I looked at my message for the board meeting, and I think I went over probably a minute than what I normally would like to do, but it was just important to me to also make a plea to our parents to complete this survey. So again, we're asking you to do that. I believe the deadline is this Friday. So again, please do that for us. Any other board updates?
Well, I guess it's not so much of an update, but it's more of a recognition, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I don't believe I heard much on it with the spectacular event that occurred a couple weeks ago. I believe Mike Stuyvesant is the president he oversaw that event, and I actually had an opportunity to sit in on that and to get entertained, and it was really, really uplifting and a great event. So, and I even heard from an outsider, I believe he was one of the judges, I think his name was Dave Porter. He said, "You guys put on a good show." So kudos to Mike Stuyvesant and his team. And another recognition, our own secretary, they put on an event a couple weeks ago as well that was entitled, correct me if I'm wrong, Empowering Our Youth, Females specifically, that was another hit as far as our school is concerned. Again, congratulations. That's all. One last thing, we got the debt policy. And thank you, Dr. Williams. We beefed up our debt policy big time, and I'm looking forward to see the results a long time from now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you, of course, Mr. Brown. Not often do you work with people that know how to say thank you, but the program that Mr. Brown is referring to was not necessarily my doing for sure. I, like Mrs. Hall, heard someone say in the audience, what are we doing to improve the reputation of the district? And one such, and many of the things that are done in and around the school, is definitely indication that the school does not have a bad reputation. Specifically, last Saturday evening, this auditorium was packed with young women, men, and fathers, mothers and fathers, who greatly respect what is going on in this district according to what they're seeing with their children. And we were very impressed, and I personally very proud to be a part of what we experienced on that day. So although we don't please everyone and do everything that everyone wishes that we would do, we are doing a great job. I'm, for one, extremely proud of the work that is being done in and throughout this district. So at the end of the day, when children and their parents are proud of what is taking place in their schools, to me, at the end of the day, that is what counts most. So I want to thank you all for your participation in that process. Again, I understand Spectacular, as well as many other programs that take place in this school, are indication that we are doing some good things. We're just like any other district, not exactly perfect, but working consistently to do our very best. So thank you all. I know that Mr. Cunningham was present, Dr. Hall, and Mr. Brown. I thank you guys for participating, at least in your presence on that occasion. And I know that those young people feel very empowered as a result of the support that this school district has given them. So thank you.
I'd like to say something. I'd like to remind the public that this is our last meeting before the elections. April 7th, we are going to vote for school board members, 4 of them. I encourage each and every one of you here and in the cyberspace to vote for the candidate or candidates of your choice. And use your civic duties. If you're happy, vote for what you've got.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Clap your hands. If you're not happy, the ballot is there. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and let's clarify. So the event was the Young Women's Empowerment Charity Gala event. It was hosted by 2 Crete Monee High School students. I was a volunteer parent, as I am on a consistent and regular basis. And so it was their project, their senior project. Clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to our administrative updates. Curriculum, Ms. Laura Hirsch.
Well, I'm happy to report to the board and to the public that this year is the first year that we have received a report from the state for our English language learner program. Up until this point, we hadn't qualified based on the number of students. This is the 2013-14 was the first year that we actually qualified to receive a report on their performance. And the report is actually called the Annual Measurable Achievement Objectives, or AMAOs as it's referred to. And we did get a letter in February that said that we were meeting in all 3 areas of performance, and those are the percent of students that are making progress in English language proficiency as measured by our access test, the percent of students attaining English language proficiency, again measured by the access test, and then the percent of limited English students meeting or exceeding state standards on our state assessment. So we met in all 3 areas, and with your packet you have both the letter and the actual official report. So I'd like to thank our ELL teachers. They're doing a tremendous job of getting our students to acquire the English language, and this is just a piece of evidence to support that.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you again, Laura. I don't think the story is being told in its fullness on just the academic success that we have exhibited over the many years. I don't think in so many levels that we are much higher than we were years ago, and that has a lot to do with you. And this is just a culmination on the success that you have led in the curriculum process. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, you're welcome, but again, it takes an entire team to do the work, and we have a good team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Student Affairs update. Mrs. Monica Spence.
Thank you. We have the following Freedom of Information requests have been received. We have one from Ms. Tammy Burnham of Crete, Illinois. Electronic request received on February 23rd, 2015 as follows. Please break down the school district by village. For example, how many students in the district live in Crete and for all the villages. The status is a response containing the requested information was sent on February 27, 2015. And that concludes the FOIA requests.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heisel. Any comments or questions? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Mr. Teray?
Sorry, can you repeat it? I was talking to the superintendent.
Mr. Teray?
No,
This is a motion to
you want
approve
her
the
to repeat
consent
the
agenda.
for the entire consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to vote no.
Okay. And Mr. Brown.
Present.
And Secretary Zai. Dr. Hall.
Aye. Thank you. No, I'm looking for the donation page. I'm sorry.
If it is the board's pleasure, after that vote, I would like to introduce a new employee. If Mr. Juan Lau would come up, our new Director of IT.
Oh. He's hurt.
So is that a sign you're a smooth operator?
Thank you, Mr. Lau. If you just introduce yourself real quick to the Board of Education, and we'll let you go so we can continue on.
Good evening.
That's your first task, fix it.
Good evening. My name is Juan Lyle. I am the former IT Director of Brookwood School District 167. I look forward to the opportunity to make technical changes and improvements and to make this actual school district better in 21st century according to the actual vision of the superintendent. I look forward to working with all of you, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this actual district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome. At this time, I would like to acknowledge our donations. We are very privileged here at Crete Monee School District. We do have a lot of people that care about our district and take the time to donate many things, so we'd like to always acknowledge them at our board meetings and our appreciation for those donations. I'd like to take the time now to communicate Joanne Jones, principal at Monee Elementary School, would like to thank the Crete Monee Education Foundation for their monetary donation for their school store, the Mustang Corral. Ms. Jones would also like to thank Mr. Keith Murphy for his donation of iTunes gift cards for the school store. And that concludes this month's acknowledgments for donations. So thank you to all. Moving on to our action reports. Superintendent Cunningham.
Good evening. Crete Monee District 201U belongs to the Career Preparation Network, CPN, that is a network that comprises 6 partners: Prairie State College, Homeward Flossmoor High School, Bloom Township High Schools, Rich Township High Schools, and of course, our district, and the Illinois State Board of Education. This network was established by an intergovernmental agreement for the purposes of facilitating the administration of state and federal career technical grants that funds nearly all of the career and technical initiatives in our district. Funding for this network derives solely from state and federal grants. However, the district is responsible for paying a small portion of the money to the network for services rendered until the state funding arrives to reimburse districts. We expect reimbursement for the state to take place in the spring of 2015. It goes with our board policies. Our Board of Education continues to support diverse educational opportunities for our high school students to ensure that we are meeting the needs and interests of all students. It is the recommendation of the administration to approve paying this invoice.
May I have a motion to approve the Career Preparation Network invoice?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Any comments or questions? Secretary, please call the roll.
No, I had a question. None of this career preparation.
Can't hear.
Okay. Career preparation, this is the Prairie State program that we have here at the high school, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's been around for just under 30 years, and it provides the funding for career and technical education. Over the years, we've built the early college program, the dual credit program, and the programs that are tied into Prairie State and down at Kankakee Area Career Center.
So that's what I want. All of that is under.
All that moves in together.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Heisel
Aye.
and Mr. Toure
Aye.
and Dr. No, I meant to say Mr. Brown
Aye.
and Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall.
Aye, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes. IHSA membership.
Crete Monee High School must renew its memberships to the IHSA, which is the Illinois High School Athletics Association, and the renewal is required, and the Board of Education is the organization that can renew it for us. It is our recommendation that the Board of Education approve its renewal of the IHSA membership for Crete Monee High School.
May I have a motion to renew the IHSA membership for Crete Monee High School?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Toure. Any comments or questions? I would like to say my son wrestles, as you all heard from my husband this evening. We went to wrestling state competition this year, and I've been involved with IHSA for numerous years with a few of my children. An issue that I have with IHSA, which it may not be an issue, but as a parent, my observation is, for example, with the state competition, the entry fees are enormous. And you end up paying a lot of money just to see your own child participate in a sport. My comment to some of the parents was, if there's an issue with what's going on, speak up and speak loud. So my comment on this vote, though I understand that we do, this is a partnership for our high school, I do feel like we need to speak up on certain things that are surrounding IHSA. Just because we're members does not mean that we have to agree with everything that's going on. They make a lot of money off of these competitions, and a lot of it is seen and a lot of it is not seen. I make a plea to any parents or any teachers to get involved. I don't know if IHSA has a board. I believe they do. But to get involved so we can give our input on that. And that's just one of the things that I have an issue with. But I believe as parents of athletes, we have a voice and we need to be sharing our thoughts concerning things. And not only that, our voices as schools that are part of the membership, sharing that as well. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but if if I'm going to see my child and then I'm bringing brother and sister and spouse or whatever, we ended up spending a lot of money that weekend. So that's just a pet peeve of mine. It's an issue I know that we'll be looking into it just as parents. But that's a conversation that needs to be had. If we want to be members of IHSA, we have a voice and we have the opportunity to share. We'd like to be members, but these are some of the issues that we are dealing with. So that's my comment on that.
I'd like to add something if you're done. Amazingly, I agree with a lot of what you said, Miss Dr. Hall. The IHSA I've been involved with for about 20 years when my kids went through school. It's basically a good old boy society, in my personal opinion. It is expensive. Resolution of disputes is almost always sent right back to the school. You take care of it. I'm not happy about them either, but I think they're the only show in town, and I reluctantly will vote to be a member of it. There's a lot of other organizations out there, like LUDA and some of these others we paid thousands of dollars to that I think are totally useless. I won't vote for them, but I think the kids need the opportunity of the exposure from the IHSA. So I agree. They need a lot of help, and parents need to speak up when they have a problem. My kids also wrestled. They were champions in the local area, regional champions. We had issues with it, and that was in the early 90s. So there's still issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what does IHSA with all the questions surrounding it? The cost is, as well as what does the cost cover? Do we have, as with LUDA and in any other organization that we've selected to be members of, for the reasons that they offer, for the services that they offer? I don't think we're members of any organizations that don't provide a service. So IHSA, what is the service that is being provided? And so are we getting what we are paying for? And do we have a representative from our area, be it local, our athletic directors, our boosters, our who would be a representative to express the concerns that you may bring as a parent to the organization?
As you speak, the representative for our district for IHSA is headed to the mic. If you have any questions or concerns.
Okay.
Who is? Oh, hi, Dr.
Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to answer questions pertaining to IHSA or any other membership affiliation from Crete Monee High School.
Well, I asked the question, just simply what is covered as a result of our membership?
The best way to describe is certainly many and most of our interscholastic athletic, also any interscholastic club or activities such as athletics is easy, the footballs, the basketballs, and it's also guaranteed through Title IX that we will have equal access to all folk to make sure everyone has an opportunity to participate. But also with the clubs or student activities, we will include things such as the Scholastic Bowl to ensure that we are able to compete with not only with other schools, but to provide a high quality competition with rules, regulation, and guidelines and protections. And much of that, if not all of it, will be based out of our student activities and the accounts associated with that, so that things are not directly debited from our ed fund as well. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes, you did. I brought up the representative to say we have a representative, and your questions and concerns can be taken to the IHSA by him.
Absolutely.
What they actually provide for us is an opportunity in a series for the state series and for our regionals and our sectionals. IHSA designs all of those systems for all our athletics. The issue and concern that I've heard here are ones that I've heard over the years for quite a while. When there's an issue or a concern, it normally comes back to our athletic director. And it's about our athletic director. We have to do the investigation. What the concern is, there's a lot of money out there. Why doesn't the IHSA get involved and do the investigations? So far, as members here and in other places, we have allowed the IHSA the opportunity just to sit back and kick it back to us. If we have concerns, we need to make sure that they're heard. And it wouldn't surprise me if there were other principals that were hearing this very same thing from their boards or their superintendents. We just need to make sure that we're heard. Price of tickets, that'll be a challenge because they know we want to see them. I mean, they do.
Okay.
I don't know, it was just frustrating because, as a parent, of course, you want to see your child, but you have to pay an arm and a leg. I think the tickets were $8 per person per session, and it was 3 sessions, was it 2 sessions? 5 total. So if you're taking your whole family, okay, do the math on that. But, we have 6 of us, so do the math. And just to see, of course, you want to see your child wrestle in the state competition. So that's just a concern. And if no one's saying anything, of course, it's going to not only continue, but it's going to grow and get larger each year. And I understand they have overhead and they have, bills they need to pay. But I'm just saying, as the representative, these are the concerns I would like you to bring back.
I will certainly carry that forward. Monthly, the athletic directors of this conference have a meeting where they discuss those things, and we can certainly take it to the local level. Mr. Joe Rita, an athletic director, is the representative for our conference, but also I will ensure that those concerns are forwarded to our representative in Springfield as well to make sure that we are heard. I know that ticket price comes up quite a bit. I mean, they have a racket. Let's call it what it is. They got a good thing going. They have a captive audience.
Parking.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can find out, see if you can get a breakdown on the salaries of Marty Hickman and the rest of the crew down there, because to my knowledge, they have refused year after year after year to divulge what they're making. And,
I will.
Something's rotten in Denmark as far as I'm concerned.
And you're filling up State Farm, U of I.
Absolutely. 20,000.
Again, do the math.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
My older son is a wrestler who went through the state series, and it's expensive.
But they don't really have to do anything because we're going to continue, people are going to continue, as you've said, for years and years, pay these membership fees. So what?
And the parents are going to go see their kids participate.
So, and they know that, so. Yeah.
Competition breeds change, and there's no competition for the IHSA. That's the bottom line. It's a monopoly.
It's very similar to the NC2A.
Yes,
in that regard.
Thank you, Dr. Rick.
Thank you.
Moving forward to our business department.
We need a vote.
We have a motion to approve the membership.
Moving right along.
Moving along.
Let's move along. I'm sorry, Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Teray.
I'm going to vote yes, because the kids need it.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
And I, Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Dr. Williams, business report. Action item.
Good evening. Included in your packet is a recommendation to designate a person to prepare the tentative budget for the next school year. As required by the Illinois School Code, the board must do that on an annual basis, and as we prepare the budget for next year, we are addressing the structural deficit that exists. We are looking to move to a modified zero-based budget in the new year. We're also looking to move to a site-based accounting manual. So we are making some changes to address the structural deficit that exists, and we are looking for your approval of the resolution to designate myself to prepare the 2015-16 budget, tentative budget for the next school year.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Can I ask a question?
I need to make the motion first.
Okay, moved.
Second.
Now ask a question.
To be clear,
Now I have a
the motion
question.
is-
Repeat the motion, please.
May I have a motion to approve the designation of the person to prepare the tentative budget as Dr. Ann Williams?
Okay, can I ask the question
Sorry.
now?
Sorry, Mr. Terray. It was moved by Mr. Heisel,
Yes,
second by Mr. Brown.
that's correct.
You got that, Ms. Sanders? Mr. Terray?
Okay. Doris mentioned earlier in her public comment about the very good possibility that money is going to be shrinking in Springfield. Are you going to present us with alternatives to show us exactly what we can expect with funding as it is now and funding anticipated shortages?
I plan to prepare some information to present to the Finance Committee in April, and that information will then be shared with the board as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Torrey?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. BMO
Thank you.
procurement card recommendation.
Yes. Also included in your board packet is a recommendation to transition from the J.P. Morgan card that we currently utilize to a BMO credit card. The BMO procurement card, rather, is a partnership with the Illinois Association of School Business Officials. While the program started in Illinois, the program has expanded to 16 districts across the country. And last year alone, the program returned $2.9 million to those participating members. For the state of Illinois in particular, there are 317 districts that are currently participating, and last year, more than $1 million was returned to those school districts. Now, the difference between the existing J.P. Morgan program and the BMO Harris P-Card program is the amount of the rebate. We have not received a rebate under the current program because we must have a certain level of spending, and the amount of the rebate that we would receive is actually less than 1%. With the card that I am proposing that the board transition to, we would receive a rebate of 1% from the first dollar spent. So we would receive a rebate from day one, and that rebate would come in the form of a check. I think it comes in about April of every school year, so that would be putting money back into the budget as a result of using that program. There is no cost to transition to this program. Also included in your packet is an overview of the program and additional benefits, the board resolution that we're recommending tonight, and the member agreement. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions that you have regarding the program.
I'm going to put a motion out there.
This is the program we outlined in the Finance Committee, correct?
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee is making the recommendation.
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
make the motion to approve the BMO procurement card recommendation.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel.
Second. Second.
Second by Mr. Terray. Any questions or comments?
I just want to reiterate that we do have restrictions and limitations on the use of these Big Mo cards.
P card.
Big Mo P cards. The BMO. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The cards are not given to anyone unless the superintendent has designated that person eligible for receiving a card, and the limits can be modified 24 hours a day online, so it is secure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can only comment that it's definitely a better, we use it in our office, and it's definitely a better card than the JP. I mean, the ease in the transaction. The P card is going to be, you'll see a tremendous difference in the ease of using it, so good luck.
Thank you.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Heisel.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Teray.
Aye.
And Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye. Thank you. CMHS yearbook vendor contract.
Yes. Also included in your packet is a recommendation to approve the Burns photography contract for our school yearbooks. We did contact several different vendors, and Burns was identified as having the best value and the highest quality. There was less than $1 variance between the cost of the different vendors. The initial order will be for 225 books if the board approves it, at a rate of $38.94 per book. And we are recommending approval at this time.
Can I have a motion to approve the yearbook vendor contract for Crete Monee High School?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Mr. Heisel. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I have a question. We talked at the Finance Committee about a contract that was signed by one of our previous administrators for the previous the company we currently use. That was a 2-year deal. I asked at that time if we check with legal and make sure that it's not binding in any way, that we're spending money in litigation. Has that been accomplished?
That has been accomplished.
And we're good?
My understanding is we're good.
Thank you.
And thank you for making those. I don't know if Dr. Harden is out there. He was the big player behind putting this contract together. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, he did make the corrections. It looks as if he did make some
The corrections. were-
typos.
Yes. The corrections. were-
That all those commas and periods and advisor. Not an E. Thank you.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Teray.
Aye.
Mr. Heisel.
Aye.
And Mr. Brown.
Aye.
And Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye. Moving on to Human Resources. Mr. Lyle Neal, staffing resolution.
The first resolution is a staffing resolution with 3 groups of people recommended by administration. One is recommended by administration for a non-tenured staff dismissal and several resignations, and then also a list of those individuals who have requested retirement at the end of this school year. So we would recommend approval of the resolution.
Can I have a motion to approve the staffing resolution recommendations? Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
by Mr. Brown. Secretary, I'm sorry, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. These reductions that you're going to do, can you explain it, why we're releasing these people, and if it's for cause or not cause? And explain it a little better to me.
The release is at the recommendation of the building administrators who completed the evaluations of the individuals. So it's based upon that information.
That's for all the ones that we're going to release?
As far as this performance dismissal, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Secretary, please
Okay, Mr. Toure?
I'm going to vote no.
And Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Lastly, resolution for amendment to superintendent contract. The Board of Education has established the evaluation of our current superintendent. As a result of the evaluation, the board determines whether the superintendent is meeting his established goals. This board has determined that our current superintendent has met his goals, and we will continue to monitor his goals. As a result of the evaluation process, there are some amendments to his current contract, including changing of the date of his evaluation, establishing a date of the state of the district address, employment language for his contract 2014 to 2018. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution for amendment of the superintendent contract?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Brown. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have some comments and questions both. Did you just say the contract from 2014 to 2018?
Yes.
Okay, and the current contract expires when?
2017.
Okay, so we're going to add a year to the contract?
As a recommendation of the Personnel Committee to the entire Board of Education.
Okay. Now, my comments are, Mr. Cunningham's only been here 8 months, somewhere in there. We got a contract 217. My comment is, I don't see the urgency in doing this at this point in time. So that I'll leave the comment at that.
Personally, I think the rollover is well-deserved. I've seen actions in a superintendent based on many years of experience with many superintendents. I think as a first-year superintendent, really, it's not easy. And he's shown us things that many of our past superintendents did not. Degree of integrity, strength, and the ability to act. So I am definitely in favor of this motion.
I concur certainly with Mr. Heisel. Our job is to definitely evaluate the superintendent. We've done so, and in evaluating him both as a parent and, as he said earlier, our previous administration has not shown, and I'm free to say it, the same level of integrity, and it has been a pleasure actually to sit on this board and to witness the changes, the improvements, and the level in which, and the commitment, I should say, that you have illustrated, Mr. Cunningham. So I'm 100% supportive of this resolution.
And I too, Mr. Cunningham, that you have exhibit those characteristics and attributes of that of a leader, of that being a superintendent. I didn't get a chance to conduct the initial interview of you, but I took my colleagues, just their advice that this is going to be a winner for us, and they have proved right. So continue doing what you're doing, and there's always room for improvement for everyone, and I'll be the first to raise my hand. So continue doing what you're doing. We have, you have our support, our full support, 100%. So thank you for your rigor. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for relocating your family and putting this school district is somewhat in front of your family. So thank you, sir.
My comments will be brief. I will say from the point of the president of the board, as board members, we have to work with a leader of the district, which is your superintendent. and as board president, I work a little bit closely with the superintendent. And I have to say that I share the sentiments of my colleagues, and Mr. Cunningham is a leader of just trustworthiness. He's reliable, integrous, accessible. Those are the types of things that show a strong leader. Sitting in the seat of board member is not always easy. It can be very challenging. Therefore, when you have a strong leader that's by your side and in this journey with you, that's something to cherish and value. So I support it as well. Secretary, please call.
Okay. Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Mr. Teray?
No.
And Dr. Hall?
Aye. Okay, any old business? Any new business?
Yes, I have some new business. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. I noticed in the packet here, I had asked a question about a week and a half ago about the priority system for purchase orders. I've been told that more often than not, purchase orders take a couple of weeks to get through the system to get us some supplies that we need. I wanted a briefing on this and a written response to what our priority system is and how it works. How do we determine what is a priority? For instance, we had this bulb issue come up at the last meeting, Finance Committee, about bulbs for the whiteboards. And, the information that I received was the order was put in, and it took 2 weeks to get through the PO process, and then it was another week. They were still waiting on a bulb. I've talked to many teachers. They tell me that the emphasis on technology is tremendous, and I agree with that. And, this things like this user replaceable item to keep the technology going should not be something that they got to wait 3 weeks for. Some kind of a priority system needs to be established so that we can get these POs in and out in a day. I also recommended, and I will recommend again, that we have small bench stock kept by our IT department of a couple of bulbs on hand, so that there's not a week and a half or 2 days or any downtime when a bulb goes out. And as soon as one is used, obviously we replace it to keep a couple in stock. That's item number one.
Can I answer item number one?
You can answer it.
Okay. I sent an email to the Board of Education because of the concern that we have. And after studying that, what we found was that the next morning there were 2 bulbs out. And of the 2 bulbs out, one of them went out the middle school that morning. Both of those bulbs were replaced. We also went through the system to find out if there were any other bulbs that were out. What we found was there were 4 bulbs that weren't quite out. They were flashing that they were close to being out. And we normally keep a small number of bulbs on hand. We are doing those items. The priority orders for purchase order system, we will be working on one of those for everything in the district. Since I got here, I want to know, and I've talked to Dr. Williams about that, how many purchase orders or priority orders for purchase orders, how many of those are out, how fast as they come through. We need to be able to tell you that about not only purchase orders, but our work orders. We need to be able to tell you that they've come in 5 days, 3 days. What's our average? We will have that done. We will get that established.
Okay, and you're going to write a policy on that?
Policy or procedure?
Procedure is fine. That's good. I'd like to see it, and I agree with the maintenance also. I also have another new business item, response for inquiries. I have routinely waited days, sometimes weeks, for responses when I contact the superintendent I would really appreciate getting responses in a timely manner. I don't appreciate waiting a week and a half to get an answer to a question. I don't bug you and send you a lot of frivolous things, but I would appreciate a response time in a timely manner so that I can act upon the inquiries that are presented to me by my constituents. And I can't answer questions when I don't have the answer to provide them. So thank you very much for that. And then the last item I have is about this, I would like to address to, I guess, to Laura. This Illinois State Board of Education.
Can I correct you? You probably want to address that to me.
Okay, I'll address it to you then. All right. This Illinois State Board of Education's got this new rule coming out that came out about IEPs and suspensions of students and meeting a quota that the state has established of 1.5%, and we are currently at 3.2%. And I am concerned that at this point in time it's for students with disabilities under the IDEA, or kids with IEPs. And I understand next year it's coming out for the general population, if that's true. I don't know if you know if that's going to happen or not. But it takes this tool away from our teachers to discipline the children and provide a suspension. I understand most of this is for tardiness and cutting class. It's not in-class discipline issues, but it's all bunched into one. And, you know, I do not want to see our teachers made to be parents or made to have additional duties to sit down and counsel. I think we either need the professionals to do this or we have to find a better way, detentions or something, to, if we're going to meet this requirement, which I personally feel is ridiculous. But if we're going to do it and the state's going to take our money away or the feds are going to take our money away, we need to come up with a system that doesn't further burden the teacher. As, they have a hard enough job just keeping the classes going and doing their very best to teach the kids. I don't want them to become social workers or counselors and add that to their already full plate. So, you know, I think you need to look. I understand we have to have a plan in place by the 27th of the month, and I'd like to be involved with that and see it before you put this plan together. I'd appreciate if you would coordinate with me, and I'll sit with you, whatever it takes. Thank you.
If that's the pleasure of the board that we run that plan by them or by an individual board member, that'll be done. But first of all, you've got to understand there were some missteps before, definite missteps that happened before I came here, because this complaints is about 3 years before we got here. The new team that is around the table, we're here to make sure we educate all children, and I heard that from you. But part of that education process is working with our teachers, not burdening our teachers. Our job is not to burden our teachers, but we will work with our students to make sure that they are successful. That is the only job that we have. And as I told you before the board meeting, the least we're ever going to do here in this district is follow the law. And that's the law of the land that they've given us. So we're going to come up with a system. We will make sure that it's taken care of, and we'll take care of those missteps that have happened in the plan.
Well, it's another mandate that they've sent to us with no funds at all. And if they want us to modify the way we do things, and if it comes to hiring professional counselors or whatever it takes, it costs money, folks. You know, this ain't coming out of thin air. You know, and I think you need to look at it real hard. And I also think I've asked you to be involved with it. I had no idea that it's the pleasure of the board that I can be involved with this. I'm sitting here as a board member, as an elected official, and I would like to be involved with this process. And I'd like to find out what's going to happen, and I'd like to review it, and I'd like it explained to me in layman's terms and what we're going to do.
Just so we're all clear, because I don't think you're being excluded from any process, as a board, we've agreed, for those of us who've come to the workshops and the committees, we've agreed that we would not burden the administrative. So I've been told the same thing, that I can't ask a question or belabor them to do any one such thing. So let's then agree as a board that your concern is one that we all can sit down, not one individual receive one such information, because it's not like you're the only person, or I may be the only person that has the concern. So if we can agree, the pleasure of the board has been said so many times, and we agreed to it. So if we didn't want to do it, the public expectation or speculation that it's not something that was previously agreed to internal and behind closed doors, that's not news and it's not new.
Well, this letter's dated February 23rd, and I got it today. What's the date today? It's March, 17th, St. Patrick's Day? This is almost a month later. No time for me to ask any questions, no time for me to even find out what this was about. Why the delay from February 23rd to March 17th to get this information? I don't understand that.
That information came from the from the Illinois State Board of Education. As soon as we got the information, we had to investigate what it was and what we had to do with our interim special ed director. We gathered a team to start doing the work, and I reported it to the board in the next FYI, which was Monday.
And let me even say, our prior administration, we did not get any type of information like that. So I do appreciate our current superintendent informing us of what is going on with the Illinois State Board of Education. I'm not very clear about your concern, Mr. Teray. However, I agree with Mrs. Sanders. We need collective board conversations, particularly on issues that will potentially affect our district in a great way. And the appropriate conversation to have would be at our education committee meetings, which we do have some very rich conversations at those committee meetings. So just like any other board member, you're invited to attend those. And I would even say to Laura, let's start looking into the concerns, and maybe you can totally clarify what your concerns are. And we can definitely put that on the agenda for our education committee.
I'm concerned with, let me clarify it for you. I am concerned with what the alternatives are going to be to suspension and expulsion. That's what I'm concerned with. How are we going to implement, what we're going to implement, how we're going to pay for it, when we're going to do it, and what it's about. That's what I'm concerned about. And I'm concerned about classroom management for the teachers so that they don't have one less tool in their tool bag to do something about the disruptive child, or the child that's tardy all the time, or the child that cuts class. And the children don't get the impression that they've got a get out of jail free card. That's what I'm concerned about.
So far, the bill hasn't gone anyplace. It's still in committee.
That's the regular education bill. The special education bill that we have.
Special education is a different ballgame altogether.
They've been doing this, and this is not new.
Nothing new. Special education for, correct me if I'm wrong, 30, 35 years. Maximum suspension is 10 days. If it fits under the student's IEP, you can't do anything about it. You may change placement, but that's about it.
Which is an additional cost many times.
Yeah, and the additional cost has always been passed on to the district. I know exactly what you're saying, because I was in a situation where we had to fund for a child to go out to Minneapolis and live out there, fly her home on weekends. Thank you, feds.
I'm just concerned that discipline should change behavior. Discipline is not punishment. It should be used to change behavior. And if we have no teeth or no consequence, we're not going to change the behavior. We've got you know, we're going to educate these children for 12 years, and we're going to put them out the door. And they're going to hopefully become productive members of society. That's the goal. That's what we should be striving for. And they should understand that there are consequences for their actions, good and bad. That's all I'm trying to say. This doesn't make any common sense to me. And God, we have lost common sense in this country.
So once again, let me get clarity for Ms. Hirsch. This is pertaining to the special ed law.
Correct. And I was told
And
it's
the limitations of suspensions, et cetera, for special ed students.
which we have about 800 and, last year we had 800 and, 815, and you divide that into, what have we got, 4,400 kids? That's a large percentage of the population. And supposedly, this bill is going to pertain to the entire population next year. So, I don't know. I can't see the future, but if it does, you're opening up Pandora's box.
I think if there's to be a great deal of further discussion on it, we're talking about, and I hear you mention it quite regularly, a constituency base. So this is going to include parents of students who have special ed students. I wonder what you think their considerations would be. So they too should be, I heard you mention the teachers. These, they're students that are affected here. The discipline that is handed down, this needs to be communicated, and there should be further discussion. Parents should have a say as well, not just one party or one entity. So if we want to start a conversation, it should be had with all the parties, the students, the parents, as well as the teachers. They're not the only ones affected in the process. So perhaps one of those, a community discussion about it, opposed to just saying that even us as a board should try to do anything to mandate or change or reconcile laws that the state has already mandated. But if, as we've talked about with IHSA or anything else, the state has elected officials as well as we are. So if people want this changed or some amendments addressed, then we need to bring this message to the people, and they, not us, can mandate it because we don't agree with it or because it doesn't make sense to us. There's a lot of things here that don't make sense, particularly how the state of Illinois does funding for the school districts in general. So, but do you get to make the determination, but we can bring the message to our constituents and ask them to go with us, as you've been an advocate for quite some time, along with the rest of us. So I think if Laura's going to put it on the consent agenda, then it needs to be a more public discussion than a smaller subcommittee, is my suggestion.
I have no problem whatsoever with getting a public meeting on this, but you got 10 days to have an answer to the state. There's no time to do that at this point in time. And I'm sure, as Tom's just whispering in my ear, that was intentional.
I need you to make sure that we're all on the same page here. This is law of the state, and we have to follow it. And we have work that we can do that will not burden our teachers. There's work that we do to take care of our students. I know that's what you want. I know we want every one of those students taken care of. And I know that there's the old saying that if your only tool is a hammer, everybody and everything looks like a nail. So we will come up with tools, and we will work with our students to ensure that they are successful. The least we're going to do here is follow the law. We can't change the law unless you're going down to Springfield with a group that can't get them to do that. We've got to follow the law.
This is a federal law. We need to look into it. According to Dr. Ireland, our temporary lady in charge of special education, because I argued the same thing, Mr. Cunningham. I said, we need to go down to Springfield. We need to talk about it. She said, this is a federal mandate. This is not a state law. This just came through the Illinois State Board of Education under their letterhead, but it's mandated by the federal government.
The mandate.
Now, is that wrong, or
No,
who's wrong?
That's not wrong. It's both things. Every state has the mandate that comes from the feds. How our different state boards handle those mandates are different. And the Illinois State Board is who sent you this letter. The Illinois State Board is the one that is enforcing this letter. They're the ones that are asking us to follow the law that is here. So they are in Springfield.
Let me just make this last comment. I believe that the idea is to hold students accountable for their actions. At the same time, there are state mandates as to how many minutes students must have in math, reading, et cetera, et cetera. Pulling kids out of school does not allow them to meet those minutes of instruction time. So this is really where a lot of this is coming from. But I do look forward to the conversation. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Teray. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you all.